I really wanted to like this laptop, but... Hi, my name is Hubwood, and today I will review this brand new MSI Alpha 15 laptop, which I have been looking forward to a lot. It has recently been released in the US and even more recently in Europe. We will start with what I liked about it in a bit. I have the 120Hz version of it, which only came with 8GB of single DDR4 RAM. Let's start with what I liked. I'm kidding, a bit. I do like the display. It has 120Hz, it feels very smooth, it's very sharp, it has great viewing angles. It could be a bit brighter though, and it's an IPS display, so overall quality is really good. I do like the design of the whole laptop. It does not look as childish or gamerish as other laptops do. It has a very sturdy keyboard, which feels great typing, and I really do like the mouse pad, which is very sturdy as well. Has a great touch point, feels really good to me. Also, the file strike score which I achieved seemed to be fine, was around 10,300, 10,500 points. The Cinebench R15 also seemed to be fine, with around 730 points. I have to mention that this Ryzen 7 is about 10% slower than an Intel i5 9300HQ. It's important to mention that this is the fastest laptop CPU and GPU that AMD has to offer in December of 2019. There's nothing faster from AMD right now. So they will probably release faster GPUs next year, but as of now, this is the best AMD laptop you can get, or the fastest AMD laptop you can get. All AMD laptops. Things that I didn't like. A lot. This version that I ordered only came with 8GB of RAM, even though RAM is really cheap these days, so that's not so very good. It's only single channel RAM, and I didn't bother to open it up and swap the RAM because I didn't want to, because I'm going to send this one back, and I didn't want to fuck up with the return policy we have in Germany. So, by the way, I will also test the 144Hz version, which comes with 16GB of dual channel. So if you want to see that as well, make sure that you subscribe to my channel, because I'm going to review that in a few weeks, or in like 2 weeks when it arrives and I have the time to do that, and compare it with the entry-level model of this MSI Alpha 15. The laptop crashed a lot. I mean, a lot. It crashed and froze when I was just using Notepad, writing my notes for this video. It crashed when opening games. Yeah, I'm not used to recent PCs crashing and freezing that often, to be honest. What I don't like is that not so many games will be able to benefit from the 120Hz monitor, because the pure performance of this laptop won't allow many games to get 120 FPS. Of course, except for games like CSGO, Fortnite, Rainbow Six Siege, if you reduce the details. So for the rest of the games, you would have to really lower the settings to achieve that much FPS. I get a blue screen of death if I try to update the AMD graphics driver. And why would I do that? Because I wanted to use the AMD Relive recording function to record gaming stuff, but it didn't work. So I tried MSI Afterburner, but that also reduced the FPS too much. So I was not able to record in-game footage directly from the laptop. And I had to factory reset the laptop when I tried to update the drivers, because I was not able to step back, because the first recovery point it had was when I just ran it for the first time. So that was kind of a bummer. I also had quite a few problems with the performance in a lot of games, like the Ubisoft games, Hello Ubisoft, Far Cry 5 and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. They performed way worse than they should. There's also a comparison with many games from Jared's tag on YouTube, and his laptop performs significantly faster than this one, which I just refuse to believe that it's because of the dual channel RAM configuration, but we will see about that. I also ran into MSI Afterburner problems, didn't run properly, didn't start up even sometimes. Overclocking the GPU was not possible at all with Afterburner. I also tried EVGA Precision, but it didn't even bother to start. So the built-in 500GB SSD is not super slow or anything, but it could be faster. I mean, it's considering it's an M2 NVMe SSD, it has around 700 to 800 megabytes of reading and writing speed. It's okay, I mean, it's fine, but as of 2019, this should be faster, right? If you use an M2 SSD. The sound of the speakers, basically speaking, is terrible. I mean, it's really not good. It basically lacks everything. But it has a sticker that says giant speaker, so it's giant, you know? It's really big. We have all the best speakers, they're really giant, you know? It gets really, really loud when playing games, kind of annoyingly loud, especially if you use the performance mode, which ramps up the fan curve, I guess. I compared it with my older Acer VX15, which back then was of the same price range. It came at a GTX 1050, and this is what they both sound like after playing 5 minutes of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I didn't like the enter key a lot, to be honest, on the keyboard. And I really don't like the connection that it has. On the right side, right in the middle, we do have our PSU connection, which just gets in the way if you have a mouse over here. And then it's even worse that they installed the two USB 3.2 ports on the right side at the very front. So if you plug in your mouse over there, it's just not going to feel great. You're going to get in the way of yourself. Right now I'm having a USB 3 thumb drive installed here, and it's already annoying if you have the mouse over here. On the left side we do have one USB only, which is kind of sad because it would have made more sense over here. We also do have an HDMI and mini display port connection, as well as a USB-C port, and of course the Kensington lock and a kill alarm connection, as well as two inputs for microphone and your speakers or headphones. Some neutral facts: there is an additional 2.5 inch HDD slot inside, and to open the laptop you just have to remove the whole bottom of it, which is fine to me because it's not that unnatural these days and I'm used to it. It's not that hard either, and once you've opened it you can reach all the parts inside, like the battery, the HDDs. Keep in mind that to replace the M2 SSD you would have to also get rid of the cooling unit, which is not for everybody. But again, I did not open this because I'm going to send this one back. So to be fair, there might be updates from MSI or AMD in the future, which will fix some of the problems that I had. I really hope there are. But it even states right now on the AMD driver side that if you install the newest driver, you will receive the blue screen of death and basically crash your system. Maybe they're on that right now as we speak. And I mean, it's the first laptop with the RX 5500M from AMD, and it doesn't make the card look that good right now. So now Jared's tag on YouTube, they also tested the 144Hz model of this, as I mentioned before, and it seemed like he did not have the same problems as I did, and his model performed significantly faster than the one I used, like around 50 to 100% even sometimes, which cannot be. I refuse to believe that it's because of the dual channel configuration. So, and I don't think this laptop basically underperformed because 3D Mark ran fine and Cinebench ran fine, so it's driver related, I'm pretty sure of that. Maybe if you're watching this in 2020 or mid-2020, they fixed the problems and it's fine. But to be honest, I'm expecting more of a laptop, more from a laptop at this price point, especially over here in Europe, where it costs around 1,200 euros, which equals to $1,325 right now, which is like $400 more than in the US, which equals to 47% more. I mean, come on, that's too much. For that kind of money, I can get an RTX 2060 laptop with an i7, which performs significantly faster than this. So, performance-wise, I would not recommend this. But this might change in the future, so if you're watching this again in 2020, things might look a lot different, and if prices drop below 1,000 euro, this might be a good deal if you're okay with the negative aspects that I've pointed out so far. Now let's have a look at some of the games that I've tested. Screen recording didn't work, and using Afterburner to record reduced the FPS by over 10%. I chose to use my camera this time, so forgive me about that.
All games were installed on the internal or external SSD, by the way. I was testing Fortnite with the common settings where everything is set to the lowest except for the view distance, which was set to epic. The FPS were way too low for that. This GPU-CPU combination should get way over 100 FPS. I was expecting around 140 to 160 FPS, but only achieved around 70 to 100. As you can see, the GPU core's megahertz were all up and down, and it just didn't work properly. PUBG basically ran okay in some parts of the game with high settings and around 60 FPS, but running seemed to cause heavy frame drops and small freezes. I would not call this playable. And as you can see, the frame times were really bad, going up and down all the time, causing some severe stuttering. Rocket League was one of the few games that ran as intended and achieved between 140 and 117 frames per second with ultra settings. Also, frame times seemed to be super smooth and the game didn't stutter at all. The Witcher 3 also seemed to run okay with high settings, running smooth most of the time with good frame times and around 60 FPS, with some frame drops here and there and in the cities though. But that's quite usual for this game. I'm sure dual channel RAM could have helped a bit. Now the three following Ubisoft titles were a big disappointment. Starting with Assassin's Creed, the GPU didn't seem to function properly as its core's megahertz and the usage went up and down all over again. This laptop should achieve around 50 FPS when running around, not 25, and frame times were a mess. Similar results for Watch Dogs 2 with medium settings. The frame rate was way too low with often less than 30 FPS. And the GPU usage was a mess again. And Far Cry 5 underachieved as well with medium settings. Bad FPS, bad GPU usage. Disappointing. I wanted to blame Ubisoft, but since their games weren't the only ones causing problems, that didn't seem fair. I was able to get around 40 to 45 FPS with medium settings, which is way too low for this laptop. Shadow of the Tomb Raider seemed to run okay at first with high settings, but the jungle scene seemed to cause heavy drops and stuttering. The average frame rate for the integrated benchmark was around 48, but should have been a lot higher for this laptop. GTA 5 ran with high settings and caused the same problems as mentioned before. After a while, testing became really frustrating. Many games didn't immediately accept the graphics settings, by the way, and needed some work to start as intended. Battlefield 5 was barely playable with medium settings on a 64-player map. Frame times were a mess and the FPS jumped up and down. I'm sure that 60 GB of dual channel RAM would have helped a lot in this game. Red Dead Redemption 2 refused to use the RX 5500M and I was only able to run it with the Ryzen 7's integrated Vega 10 APU. Absolutely unplayable, even in 720p and lowest settings. And last but not least, I've tested the FIFA 20 demo with high settings, which performed really well with around 85 FPS and stable frame times. Even though the GPU core's megahertz seemed to go up and down, the FPS didn't.
So, thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye bye. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks.